concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, you guys? How you like that flying? If you are a patron, you may have already seen this flight. I posted it to my Patreon. But for the rest of you, yeah. It's not bad. Let's see it out. Let's see the end of it. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. It's almost over. Getting the music. Oh, that was a tight turn. Oh, that was a tight turn. And, oh, hello. This is not the $900 Mr. Steel Quad. This is the... Oh, there, it's over. This is the Rotor Riot HD1. And to tell you the truth, honestly, I actually don't think it was flying spectacularly. I mean, it was okay. It's hard to say what the difference was between that one and the like the Sedora or the Mr. Steel. It's not, I mean, it's not particularly tightly tuned. Maybe it has something to do with it. But it was flying okay. It was doing all right. I was ringing it out. I had a good time. Welcome to the live stream. It is 8 p.m. It's 8 p.m. where I am, and it is Monday night, and we're gonna do some Q&A. You're gonna ask some, oh my god, I didn't get a drink before the live stream. I forgot to get a drink. Well, the last live stream ended early because I had to go pee. It ended like 5 minutes early. Don't freak out. I guess that's not going to happen for this one. Ha ha! Wee! Oh, man. Joshua, do you fly 20 by 20 stacks? Asks, take a flight FPV. Take a flight FPV. If you mean legit 20 by 20, not 30 by 30 boards that have 20 by 20 size mounting holes. I am so skeptical. Like, just the size of the FETs on a 20 by 20 ESC, they have to be smaller. You know, so I mean, all the frames I fly are fine with 30 millimeter. Some racers are going to 20 millimeter. I guess if it can hold up to racing, it can hold up to anything, but I'm sticking with 30 millimeter personally. That's what we do here if you're new here. And if you are new here, say hello. Say hello in the chat. Fossa FPV in Sweden, it's 2 a.m. 2 a.m. is not that late. Some of us stay up till 2 a.m. If you're new here, James Wilson, how's it going, my friend? Zontar over in the Discord. Is this your first stream, Zontar? Welcome to the stream, everybody. Stutz. Liam Kilmanchenko wants to know what my new daily driver is. Yeah, I got here on the desk behind me. I got the Radio Master. I got the jumper, T18. I said I was not going to switch until I could do crossfire shot. Well, it turns out that the Radio Master, according to, I haven't confirmed this, but the Radio Master TX16S, you can just flash the T16 firmware to it. It won't, like, I don't know, will it work right with OpenTX Companion? Well, it certainly wouldn't work with the touchscreen that is coming out eventually, but that's not supported anywhere. He said if you really want Crossfire Shot, just flash the T16 version of the Crossfire Shot firmware to the Radio Master. Haven't done it yet, but that would be a thing keeping me from making it my daily driver. Let's talk about Brandon FPV's question about Bitefrost V2. Do I know anything about Bitefrost V2? Well, that leads us into the news of the day section. If you saw the news on Sunday's stream, bear with me. I'm going to repeat some of it for people who didn't see it. You'll make it, don't worry. This is a message from Fat Shark. Long story short, the prototypes of Bitefrost that came from manufacturing were having heat dissipation problems, and they had to go back to the drawing board. And he says it can't say whether it be 1 month or 4 months. But Bitefrost is not close to coming out. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, there you go. These things happen. Other news that I wanted to get out there. Let's see. What other news did I have? Some of them, I'm not going to repeat all of it. Another piece of news that I wanted to get at before we start taking questions, and we will start taking questions. So I did my range test with the Jumper TX16S and the with the Radio Master. Damn it. I did my range test with the Radio Master TX16S and the Jumper T18, and I found that the T18 had lower range. And to tell you the truth, I would have been surprised if I had found otherwise, because the type of antenna that's used by the T18, the PCB-based antenna, that type of antenna design is inherently less efficient than this type here. This has a little piece of coaxial wire going up inside it, and long story short, patch antennas, printed circuit board antennas are less efficient. There's more to that statement. You can build an efficient PCB-based antenna, but you have to air gap it. Anyway, so I found that the range was smaller, and I said that was a deciding factor to go for the TX16S. I would say there were other things also that sort of made the decision for me, but Gal Kremer, and if you don't know who Gal Kremer is, he's a great YouTuber. I think he might be in Germany. I'm not 100% sure. He did a range test. He did a really cool thing, and you can find this on his channel, of course. I'll paste the link if you want to go check it out. It's the least I can do, seeing as I'm, showing his video. But he took a receiver and a flight controller, and he put it in a little plastic box, and he put it on a DJI Mavic, and then he just flew the Mavic out, and he flew it out to look at the kilometers here. He flew it out. Oh, it's coming home now. He flew it all the way out to 4 kilometers. Where is it? Where's the 336? There it is. 4 kilometers. Boom. He flew it all the way out to 4 kilometers, and he found that the T18 didn't fail safe. And some people were asking about that and saying, well, JB, you said the range on the T18 was smaller. And I made a comment on his video, but I wanted to address it because, number one, I don't like it when people make artificial drama and try to make it like there's some, aha, you know, Gal Krimmer is going against JB and contradicts JB. In fact, his results seem to basically agree with mine because the RSSI on the T18 is lower on his test than the TX16S. And in fact, the way he had the antennas oriented actually gave the T18 a little bit of an advantage. He's acknowledged this. It's just a small oversight in the test. But even with that small advantage, the T18 did slightly worse. But the takeaway from his test, and if you saw my result and you went, oh, I guess the T18 isn't for me, but some people had already ordered it. Well, it turns out that under optimal conditions, the T18 can go all the way out to 4 kilometers. So, I mean, maybe that's good enough. Maybe that's good enough for you. I still maintain that under any condition, I would expect the TX16S to go further. But if you saw my test and you went, oh, the range was so short. Yeah, it was short with trees and stuff. My point is this, though. If you fly fixed wing at a flight field and you're just flying line of sight up in the sky, T18 will probably do it all day long. Because how far out are you going to go line of sight? You're not going to go 4 kilometers away. You won't be able to see it. But if you fly FPV where you're flying in trees and obstacles and stuff, that's where I think the difference is going to be more apparent. And that's one of the reasons I do the test that I do, even though it's not like the same kind of scientific, purely test like Gal did. Anyway, it's a cool test that he did with his Mavic, and I'm pretty impressed. I have a Mavic Mini, so I don't think it would fly. Maybe it would fly 4 kilometers out, but I don't know if I could do the same test he did. So anyway, there you go. That's the news from today. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to show you guys that is really cool. I'm going to have a video coming out about this, but I wanted to show you guys this. This is the Digi adapter from British Drone Industries, and I'm going to hold it up for the camera. The cool thing about this is I just did this today. It holds a Fat Shark module. It's not as low profile as like the iFlight, the iFlight modification. What's the word for it? But it only takes 2 screws. It only takes 2 screws and it drops right in and it holds the module perfectly securely. I'm pretty impressed with this. So I'm going to have a video coming out about that today, this week. Anyway, there you go. What else? Oh, one more thing. Thank you to the anonymous person who mailed me these wire strippers for Father's Day. This person sent me a message and said, I'm tired of seeing you strip wires with your diagonal cutters. Can I send you a set of wire strippers? And I said, okay. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, let's do some Q&A. Here's what we're going to do. I got your, whoa, oh, I got the screen all wrong. Oh, my whole world is shook. Hang on. There we go. Okay, now this one. And now this one. Okay. Woo. Okay. It was everything was on the wrong side. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. You guys are going to ask me questions here in the chat. If you want to make sure I get to your question, then just post it again and again and again and spam the chat. No. Don't spam the chat. If you want to make sure I get to your question, hit the $ right down here. It'll let you leave a super chat like RoboCop here. Get to you in a minute, RoboCop, and make sure that I will get your question. Also, right here. I also use side cutters. Are Shellman. I would, if I could get the job done with side cutters, I don't know why I would put them down and pick up a second set of tools, but okay, if you want to send me a set of nice wire strippers, I will not turn you down. And I may not even end up using them most of the time, but I'll try. I'll try. These guys up here in the Discord are my patrons. They're at my Discord server. Hello, it's Blunty, Juzel, OCD, FPV, House FPV. These lovely people support me on Patreon for a couple bucks a month, and basically the only reward they get is being on my Discord server because, you know, they say like, oh, you should do special things for your patrons. And I do special things for everybody because that's just how I am. But they get to be on the Discord server. What's up, everybody? So let's answer some questions. Let's see what we got. Do I have any news on the X-Flip modular? Asks FPV Low Wing. X-Flip modular, well, I'll tell you that I don't know what that is, so I guess I don't have any news about it, but let's educate myself about what is the X-Flip modular. Oh, it's a display. X-Flip modular OLED display. Oh, no. Oh, no. No. No, I do know what this is. Oh, okay. So I'm going to be very, very careful about what I say here. This to me feels like the same company that made the, what the heck was that goggle? That terrible, terrible goggle. Help me in the chat. The goggle that said it was 640 by 480 resolution, but it really was 320. Oh my goodness. This, oh, they made 2 sets of FPV goggles, and each time they released a render, and that's why this to me feels like this is the same company, although I'm not sure. They released a render, a good-looking render, and then the actual product had big, big problems. Top Sky. That's it, Top Sky. So, they released the Top Sky. Oh, look, they make chairs too. Oh, I see. They make a lot of stuff. There it is, the Top Sky Prime 1S. This goggle was an absolute disaster, in my humble opinion. It was an absolute disaster. The first time I knew it was going to be a disaster was when they said it has 640 by 480 resolution, or what, a 1024, and basically they were taking the resolution of the screens and doubling it. They're like, well, there's 2 screens, so that's, I'm like, that's not how resolution works, you dummies. They're still doing it. They're still doing it. Oh my god, this is out of stock, so this doesn't matter. It still says it. It says 640 by 480 LCD. It's actually a 320 by 240 LCD, but they're like, yeah, but there are 2 of them, so that's 640 by 480. No, that is 640 by 320, but hey, or by 240, but let's not let that stop you. Yeah, so they lied about the resolution. I confirmed when I got the goggles that the goggles didn't have the correct resolution, that they had just lied in their and I said to them on RC groups before they released the goggle, hey, that's not right. What are you doing? And they were like, oh yeah, I see what you mean. But then they went ahead anyway. And then there were all kinds of problems with the goggle, and I was just like, don't buy it. They released a set of goggles before this that was like a $300 set of goggle, which was kind of okay, but had problems. And now they seem to be trying, and I don't know. I want to be really careful here. XFlip, if you are a different company, and I don't want to malign you, but this to me smells like a Top Sky goggle, and that, like, I would speculate that maybe Top Sky knows that they have a bad name, and they're trying again by just selling it under a different name. Because every Top Sky goggle, the very first thing they released was this cool looking render, but then the actual goggle was crap. And you guys don't. Whatever the truth about this goggle is, do not spend $340 on a pre-order of a brand new goggle from a company you have never heard of. Do not. If you need to spend $300 on a goggle right now, go buy a Sky Zone, go buy an Eachine, go buy a Fat Shark Attitude, go buy a goggle from a company that has proven that its product is worth buying. Do not take a chance on a brand new goggle like this, because guys, there are products that it's okay to take a punt on. And you go, well, maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. Goggles are not that product. It is so hard to make a good goggle. I would not buy the first goggle that any company made. So, don't buy this goggle until you start hearing from, I mean, I'm not like, don't buy this goggle until you hear from reviewers like me that it's good, because I'm super important. No, I mean, whoever you trust. But don't be a guinea pig for this company. Either it's Top Sky and they're trying to, and they don't have a great track record, or it's a completely brand new, unproven company with no track record. Either way, I would not go for it. So there you go. You got a lot more than you bargained for with that question because of the history with Top Sky. And my suspicion, just a suspicion, not an accusation. Please don't sue me. Uh-huh. Yeah, Anders Martinson, that's exactly what happened. They added the resolution together. And I wanted to make sure I was correct. So what I did was, on the back of the screen, the product, label had the number 320 in it. And I was like, aha! But then I counted the pixels. I literally took a picture and I zoomed in and I counted the pixels. I literally counted 320 by 240 pixels to confirm the resolution. Yeah. Crash Test FPV in the Discord says, did you just tell people not to buy Orca? I'm not saying that because at this point, Orca has proved itself, haven't they? People, actually, somebody contacted me just today and said, oh my God, I'm not making this up. He said, I bought Orca. I had some customer service issues. They went above and beyond to take care of me. I'm so impressed. I mean, Orca had a lot to prove. But, you know, I mean, they seem to be delivering. So, I mean, right now, when Orca didn't even have a prototype, did you hear me going, oh, Orca, so good? I went out to CES and I met them, and they had screens in a 3D printed case, not even a DVR, not even a menu system, just an optics module in a 3D printed case. And I was like, interesting. And I interviewed them, and I gave them a chance to tell their story, and I asked them some questions, but I didn't like go, oh, this product is so good, because it wasn't a product yet. Now they have a product. They've put hundreds or even thousands in customers' hands, and we know a thing or two about the company, and that's where this other company would need to be before I would endorse them. Anyway, that's right, Skadoosh. I am on a rant. I don't read the chat when I'm on a rant. Skadoosh, what are you trying to say, man? Skadoosh confirms 100% it is Top Sky. Okay, David Skadoosh is fairly reputable. David lives in China and has a lot of contacts with manufacturers and he knows what's going on the ground in China. He confirms 100% it is Top Sky. Okay, if that's a Top Sky goggle, like, I'm not going to say don't buy it just because it's Top Sky, because who knows? Maybe they've turned it around. But I would, like, why would you give $300-ish to a company with a history like Top Sky when you could give $300-ish to a company with a history like Skyzone or Fat Shark or Eachine or even Elmway? Even the Elmway Commander is not a bad goggle, especially at the price. All right, moving on. That is all we're going to talk about that goggle. Let's get some super chats out of the way. The super chats are... Oh, David Skadoosh says they had sent me some to review. Well, how were they, Skadoosh? I don't want to ruin your review, but how were they? I bet they were crappy. Okay. Robocop FPV, thanks for $5 in the super chat, and thank you also for $5 in yesterday's super chat. I accidentally scheduled this live stream for yesterday at 8 p.m. I picked the wrong day by accident. And Robocop left a $5 super chat in a live stream that didn't happen. Oh, wait, is this the same super chat? Oh, I bet, is it? I'm not sure if it cleared the super chat, but let me answer the super chat. Robocop FPV, are you even here, man? He's not even here. Robocop FPV, thanks for your super chat yesterday. Email me. I'm so sorry. Chukka FPV, thanks for $2 Australian. Have you tried the SP Racing H7 flight controller? I have. Chukka FPV, the SP Racing H7 flight controller is a freaking masterpiece. Now, the one I looked at was the SP Racing H7 Extreme. This thing does so much shit that flight controllers just don't do. Skadoosh says his comment about the goggles was if they were priced correctly, they'd be good. They do have OLED screens and fit Fat Shark modules. Yeah, but how are the optics, Skadoosh? They wouldn't tell me the price they were going to set at. I mean, it's just the optics and the build quality. $300 for a pair of cheap OLED goggles they'd be competing against Fat Shark Attitude. That would be the question. And that's a tough fight because Attitude is a quality set of goggles. So they're going to have big OLED screens, but I'm not sure I would bet against the Fat Shark customer service and build quality. So here's the SP Racing H7 Extreme. This guy is kind of a kitchen sink. It has an all-in-one board, and so it's really crowded. Like, you don't have access to all the UARTs unless you use these plugs. The one that I would lean towards today is I think it's the H7 This one is made for use with a 4-in-1 ESC and is a little more flexible. 40 euros. How's the layout? Jeez, beautiful. Look at this amazing layout. Wow, couldn't get easier than that, could it? So that's the SP Racing H7 and these guys can do cool things, like they do PID audio, where you can hear in your earpiece what the PID error is like. They have a bunch of other interesting features. Yeah, so it's a good. It's not for everybody. It's kind of a weird Dominic Clifton's kind of like a mad genius. And if you're also kind of crazy, you may look at what he does and go, oh, that's for me. I wouldn't say that this is like a good flight controller for a beginner. It's kind of too much. Like giving a beginner the space shuttle and telling them learn how to drive. But it does have a lot of, it's a good flight controller. Thank you, Precognitive, for 4 New Zealand dollars. Thank you, Dustin Warren, for $10. TAC is awesome. Why you make me say that, Dustin Warren? No, TAC is awesome. TAC is awesome. TAC's not here today, but he is awesome. FP Low Wing. SP Racing is run by Dominic Clifton. I believe he lives in Spain. And if you're concerned about manufacturing in China, I also believe he has the wave soldering. I think I've heard people tell me he actually builds these flight controllers himself. He like has a pick and place machine and a wave soldering machine that he builds them himself. One of the downsides of that is that they're out of stock, maybe more than you would like. Although it's in stock right now at his website. You also, if you don't live in Europe, this is it flips it a little bit. Normally, stuff is cheap for Americans to buy and expensive or more expensive for Europeans. But if you live in America, you have to buy it from his store in Europe, and you have to buy in euros, and it's a little more of a hassle. Ezekiel 1974, thanks for $10 in the super chat. If I have my Crossfire on my Futaba using the mod to powering it from my Futaba battery, can I plug a LiPo in on the Crossfire XT30 to power it at the same time? Yes, absolutely, Ezekiel 1974. The Crossfire module handles that safely. You don't have to worry about frying your radio. If you plug in external power, the module will be powered from external power. If you don't plug it in, it'll be powered from internal power, and it'll... I should hedge that, because if you've done some kind of a mod where the module, like you've connected the external power connector through to your radio, then you could screw this up and fry your radio. You want to be careful. Normally the way it works is that on the Crossfire module, there is a plug that's supposed to go to the JR module bay on the back of the radio. And that one is separate from the XT30. But I think that the module won't go above either 250 or 500 milliwatts on internal power. So if you have somehow connected the radio's internal battery to the XT30 to let it go to full power, then you would not want to plug in a battery, because the two batteries would exchange current and they could be. So I guess the right answer, Ezekiel, is it depends on exactly how you've wired the mod. So be careful about that. And if you want to, I'll try and take a look at your wiring. Oh, there's Robocop is here. He got here. So let me get your super chat from last night, Robocop. Sorry about that. Robocop has an AKK DVR video transmitter wired correctly. Huh, you say so, but I'm not taking anything for granted. And set to the right UART in Betaflight. I can't get the flight controller in VTX to communicate. Device ready, no, in the VTX tab. Any ideas? I mean, device ready, no. There's basically 3 things you got to do correctly to get device ready, yes. 1 is wire correctly. 2 is set the ports tab correctly. And that's it, actually. There's only 2 things. If you have an AKK video transmitter, you might need to flash the AKK fix version of Betaflight. I thought this bug was fixed, but perhaps it's not. If you go in the firmware flasher, hang on, let me zoom in here. There we go. Oh yeah. Look what a freaking amazing streamer I am. Look how I handle this stuff. So good. So good. Can you guys ever see anything like that? Sorry. So what you're going to want, stop it. What you're going to want to do is show unstable releases and then enable expert mode. Stop it. Oh my God. Never mind what I said about being an amazing streamer. And then you're going to choose the AKK RDQ VTX patch. And then you're going to flash your board that way. It's possible. I thought that bug was fixed, but if you have an AKK VTX and it's not working, then maybe that's your fix. Try that. That's what I would say. Maybe that'll work for you. Thank you for your super chat, Robocop. Sorry about the missed communication yesterday on the live stream. Gaptooth Granny, thank you for $5 Canadian. Any H7 boards work with individual ESCs? Yeah, Gaptooth Granny, we just looked at the SP Racing H7 Extreme. It has an all-in-one, it's got a PDB built in, so you're good there. Mad Fisher reminds us that you have to plug in the battery to power up the video transmitter. That's true, but I'm going to guess that Robocop knows that, but maybe not. Precognitive, thank you for 10 New Zealand dollars. Greetings from New Zealand. Greetings to you. Apples and sheep. That's what I know about New Zealand. And Bruce. RC Model Reviews. Apples, sheep, and RC Model Reviews. Learning with FPV Freerider and the Tyrannus X9D. How do I make sure the sim is similar feel to a real quad? I don't want to be starting off on the wrong foot. Here's the thing, man. Let's say that let's imagine that you were a kid who had never driven a car before. Like my son's 9 years old, right? Well, let's say I say, all right, we're going to learn to drive, and I'm just going to put you in like a video game. You know, like just a video game. It's got a steering wheel, it's got a pedal, it's got a gas, it's got a brake. And that's it, right? It's not anything like a real car. The physics aren't right, but you're going to get the basics down. Turn left, turn right, gas, brake. And my point is that when you're practicing with a simulator, the simulator doesn't have to be perfect. And in fact, in most cases, the simulator won't be perfect. But here's the thing. Let's say you learn to fly on a 5-inch quad and you come over to my house and I say you want to fly my quad and you fly my quad. My quad's going to feel different than yours. You'll adjust. It'll be okay. So don't spend a whole lot of effort trying to make the simulator feel exactly like a real quad, because depending on the simulator, it may not even be possible. Just may not. Just get that stick time in. Learn how to fly it. I would say find rates that you like to use, because rates actually translate pretty well to real life. So find rates that you like to use. Play with the rate curve. Ideally, you're using a simulator that can emulate Betaflight rates, and you could translate your rates from the simulator to the real flight controller, assuming you go with Betaflight. But then just get out there. Once you start to feel confident, just get out there. Go slow, be safe, adjust to the new quad. But you're not going to probably learn, as long as you're like in acro mode, you're probably not learning any bad habits. The two things I would say you need to match up is the up tilt of the camera and the rates. And other than that, you'll be fine. A big oily guy, thank you for $10. It's not a... in the last live stream, I joked that big oily guy was also his OnlyFans. OnlyFans is not a dating site, big oily guy, I hate to tell you. Anyway, I made a bad joke at his expense, and then I apologized. He wants me to know that this is his God-given name. Big oily guy is the name his mother chose. Hey, man, I'm not going to argue with you about it. Certainly not going to argue with people about what the name they choose. That's for sure. Robocop FPV, thanks for another $1. Jason Price, thank you for $20. Just watched your antenna mounting tips video. The zip tie trick saved me a lot of time and frustration. I'm really glad you like that. That's my favorite way to mount 2.4 gig antennas, and I've never chopped one since I started doing that. I'm not making that up. Daniel Carroll, thank you for $5. Will the know-it-all list be updated soon? It's updated constantly, my friend. You're talking about my website. It's a little early in the live stream for me to plug my website, but my website is www.fpvknowitall.com. I have my ultimate FPV shopping list. It's updated constantly, depending on the page you look at. Like this specific page was updated April 17th, but if we look on my Trello board, here you can see, oh, you guys can see that. Hold on, I'm zoomed in. You can see just today, I put a whole bunch of edits that need to be made to the website on the Trello. It's constantly being updated a little bit at a time. So, Daniel Carroll says, I'm ready to buy a DJI Crossfire equipped freestyle quad. I want to know what's the absolute best. Whew, the absolute best. I mean, if there was a better one, I probably would put it on the list. I mean, the absolute best, there is no single best. I've put a couple on the list. This is a budget one, the Rotor Riot HD one. Lumineer QAVR HD is on there. Catalyst Machine Works Bang God. This is a little heavy. It's not like a lightweight zippy zip, but that's a good one. Those are some of the ones on my list. I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? 5-inch freestyle, price is no object. 5-inch freestyle, price is no object. Tell me in the chat. And let's see what the chat thinks. Dustin Warren, thanks for $10 in the super chat. I got the Kakute F7 with a BLH32 4-in-1, and I'm going to drop it in a Chameleon. For 5S, what kV motor do you suggest? For 5S on a 5-inch prop, I mean, the canonical answer is 2100 kV. 21-ish. I would prefer to go a little higher, and then if need be, lower the throttle with a throttle curve. Because then you can always dial it up a little bit if you want more power, but you can never dial it down. So I probably would go with like a, I mean, but the thing is, if you've got a motor you really like, it's probably not going to be available in 2300 kV. So probably around 2200 kV for Freestyle 5-inch. Skadoosh uses 2400 kV. You could do that, especially with maybe a 85% throttle curve. It'd be pretty good. Ciati's in the chat. Ciati is also, he's going to be streaming later tonight on his channel. We'll talk more about that later. Skadoosh says QAVR2 all day. I mean, the QAVR2 is not like a sexy quad with a pilot's name behind it. It's a pretty solid setup. And the advantage of the QAVR2 is that it's going to come pre-configured and ready to go, which a lot of people will like. You could just order it with the goggles, with the controller, ready to go. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Ciati says money no object, Apex hands down, no comparison. Yeah, hard to argue with the Apex, and it is available with the DJI, despite the fact that it is a... Now, the Stingy V2, the CGK FPV says Stingy V2. Are they selling that as a ready to fly? That's the question. Yeah. Let's see here. Henry Bambro wants to know, is it safe to leave the nickel metal hydride battery in my transmitter unattended while charging? Henry, I do that. And don't spam the chat, Henry. I see people told you that. I'm going to answer your question, though, because I can tell you really want to know. Nickel metal hydride batteries, I leave them. I think, like lithium ion batteries, if they overcharge, they could start a fire and burn your house down. Nickel metal hydride batteries are pretty freaking safe, aren't they? Come on, guys, for real. So, yeah, I would charge a nickel metal. I mean, if I trust the charger, I'll leave my lithium, right behind me. You can kind of see right there. That's an 18650 charger. I just leave those guys in there. It's never popped one of them for me. So it depends on how much I trust the charger. But especially for a trickle charger, and especially for a nickel metal hydride, I would leave it charging overnight unattended. Like when I just got my brand new Radiomaster TX16S and I wanted to test the internal charging, I did not leave it overnight because I didn't know for sure whether it would be safe. Well, I think once you're convinced it's safe, yeah, then it's okay. What else we got? QAVR2, the Steel, the Apex. Let's see here. What other frames are people? Apex, try to get close to 6mm arms. Yeah. Oh no, Eric Farmer. Was there something? Did something happen with Ken Heron? Oh no, Ken's a good guy. I hope there was not a problem. Frank Nicholas, if you're having trouble with Discord and patron role on the server, you gotta message me on the server, man. You DM me on or email me or something. I can't solve that for you on a live stream. I mean, I appreciate you being here, but let's see. Mr. Steel, Alien, if money's no object, with DJI. He said, people are suggesting analog quads. It's got to be a DJI quad. Anyway. All right. Well, I hope you feel like you got the money's worth out of that question. Project 399 Super G. What is that? It's a frame, though. It's not a pre-build. I swear. Doghouse FPV in the Discord. Let's go show some love to the patrons in the Discord. Doghouse FPV says, are people putting linear polarized antennas on their video goggle modules when they fly micros? That is a great question. That is a great question. I'm so glad you asked that. Let me tell you the answer. I fly circular antennas on my goggles all the time. Here's why. When you have linear antennas, the polarization depends on the orientation of the two antennas. When the two antennas are oriented the same direction, upright, horizontal, whatever, when they're oriented the same, that's more like it. When they're oriented the same direction, then the polarization matches and they have 0 dB of polarization loss. In other words, no loss. When the polarization is 90 degrees relative to each other, they have as much as 15 or maybe more dB of loss. A lot of loss. Now, the reality is that unless you're doing a big point-to-point link, like you're shooting a link across a valley, indoors, the signal bounces around so much that the polarization is not pure. As the signal bounces, the polarization changes. And so the signal that the receiver is seeing is a combination of a bunch of polarizations. But the takeaway message is that the strength of a linear polarized signal depends on the orientation of the two antennas. But with a circularly polarized antenna, orientation doesn't change the polarization at all. And that's the big advantage of circular polarized antennas. One big advantage. So with a circular polarized antenna and a linear antenna, you get a constant 3 dB of loss all the time. So the best case scenario for linear antennas is 0 dB of loss. That's better than 3 dB of loss. But the difference is that with a circular polarized antenna and a linear antenna, you always have 3 dB of loss no matter what the orientation of the antenna is. And to me, that's a winner. That's a winner. If you put a linear antenna on your goggles, you may find that as you move the quad around, the signal becomes much worse depending on how the polarization is coming in. But when you have a circular antenna on your goggles, well, it still could be worse or better, but it's not dependent on the polarization. So that's what I would say about that. Crazy Kid Jack is looking for super in-depth info on antennas. I mean, go look at Video Aerial Systems. Alex Grieve, he has a YouTube channel and he does some talking about antennas. Really, if you want to learn about antennas, the resources you need don't have anything to do with FPV. You're going to want to go get in touch with your local ARRL chapter, American Radio. That's the ham radio guys. Those guys know about antennas. Now they're building big shortwave antennas. They're not building FPV antennas. But if you really want to learn about antennas, go hang out with ham radio guys. That's how to learn about that. Bastian Sonderman wants to know if I know anything about the Radio Master TX16S restock. I don't know when the restock would be. Guys, I hate to tell you, but we're still in a pandemic affected world. Supply chains are effed up. A lot of people are out of work. Stores are struggling to compensate. If you want a product right now, you're going to have to back order it. Some people are asking me, when will Crossfire modules be in stock? And I'm like, well, they have been in stock. I know of at least 3 different times when a store had Crossfire modules in stock for like a day, and then they sold out. It's just everybody is struggling to get stuff to you, and it's not going to be a time, potentially it's not going to be a time when you're just going to be able to wait for stuff to be in stock and then go get it. If there's something that you really want, just find the store that you like the most and order from it and wait. Sorry, because that's going to be. Let's see here. Ezekiel pasted the mod on the chat. Where's the Ezekiel? I don't know where that would be, my friend. Where is the I'm trying to see if you like messaged it. Okay. Ezekiel, I'm sorry, my friend. I don't know where you pasted on the chat in the PDF folder. Where did you paste it, dude? I so appreciate your super chat. I wish I could help you, but I'm not sure what you email me. Ciati FPV wants to know if I've switched my perfect build from my OG 2407s to the new 2208s. Yeah, Ciati, I like my own 2208 motors better than my 2407. And the reason for that largely has to do with the KV. The 2208s are about 100 lower KV. Yeah, maybe it's only, I think it's 100 KV. 2450, yeah. The lower KV, they still plenty powerful, but they're a little easier on the battery. So I like the 2208s better. Two crazy ketos. Haha, keto. My wife does keto. Two crazy ketos. Thank you for $5 in the super chat. New to FPV, learned a lot from you on a Mac. The Transtech Beetle USB-C is requiring battery to connect to Betaflight. Pyrodrone says it's normal. Is that true? The air unit requires the battery, but the air unit doesn't connect to Betaflight. Normally, the flight controller is powered off of USB. So I don't know if there's some miscommunication between you and Pyrodrone. I try not to get involved in customer service disputes. So I don't want you to take this as me saying Pyrodrone is wrong. But normally when you plug the USB cable into a flight controller, the flight controller powers up from USB and you don't need a battery plugged in. So let's see. Where are we at? Are capacitors really necessary? Asks, gotta get it in the YouTube chat. Capacitors are not, okay, so capacitors are necessary, but that's not the question that you're asking, because every ESC has a ton of capacitors on it already. I think what you're at, and if it didn't, it wouldn't work. I think what you're asking is, are big electrolytic capacitors necessary? And the answer is that many builds can get away without them. Many ESCs have enough capacitors already on them to filter voltage spikes and can keep everything good. You will always benefit from adding an ESC. Whether you notice the benefit, you may not notice the difference. Especially if you run 6S, though, I think everybody running 6S should have an electrolytic capacitor on their quad somehow. I think every ESC benefits on 6S voltage, because normally the FETs on the ESC, they might be rated for 35 or 40 volts. Well, if you're running 6S, you're closer to that limit, and adding a capacitor helps protect everything a little bit. On 4S, I often don't add a capacitor. On 6S, I think you always should. Flynn Zeisha wants to know what the best props are to use on a 5-inch frame, 5.1 or 4.8. Not all 5-inch frames will fit a 5.1 prop, but they probably will. Most probably will. A 4.8 prop is a pretty specific thing. I think most people, you should just start with like a 5-inch prop, maybe a 5.1. A 4.8 prop is going to be a little more responsive. It's going to make a little less thrust. I think a 4.8 prop is more tailored for a specific build, unless you're talking about like the HQ. HQ has a 4-blade prop that's a 4.8 diameter. They're trying to make up in that extra blade what they're losing in diameter. I think I'd probably steer a beginner towards a 5.1. Yeah. Alex Waskiewicz wants, thank you for $2 in the super chat, Alex. Your yaw rate philosophy, stiffer or relaxed? Yaw rate, stiffer or relaxed? I'm not sure. I know, because when I think about rates, I think about fast rates and slow rates. I think about linear rates and expo rates, but I don't know what stiff versus relax is when we're talking about yaw rates. Not sure I understand there. I have what some people think is a high yaw rate, and the reason for that is that I don't like to deflect the yaw stick very much. I feel like I get better throttle control when the yaw stick isn't deflected too much. It's possible that if I reduced the yaw rate, I could have more precision. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I do. I have like 800 degrees per second on yaw. Saucy Jack says in the Discord, thank you for being a patron, Saucy Jack. I made a deal with my kids that once they hit 50 hours in DRL or Velocidrone, I would help them build a drone of their own. They're almost to the point where I need to put some thought into what we're going to build. I was leaning toward like a tanky 3-inch freestyle build or a tiny whoop, I'm currently running DJI mostly, but I'm not opposed to analog. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Yeah, interesting. I mean, I guess I would say, is there a reason that you're not going to start them on a 5-inch? Safety is obviously a big reason, right? But I don't think they should be flying a 3-inch by themselves either. If they have 50 hours in DRL or Velocidrone, they're probably a better pilot than you at this point, no offense. And with adult supervision, maybe with a buddy box, they probably could go right to a 5-inch. And if that's what they're flying in the simulator, that's what they may be most comfortable with. It really depends on how much you trust them to be safe and responsible. I would rather take a 3-inch to the face than a 5-inch. So if you feel like maybe they're not quite 100% ready for the responsibility of a 5-inch, then sure, a 3-inch. A 3-inch is going to fly worse than a 5-inch, though. That's a tough one. As far as whether they should start with DJI or analog, that just depends on how rich you are. Most parents would probably start their kids on analog because they could learn the hard way like I did. And analog gear is way, way cheaper. But if you got the money to buy them DJI, go for it. DJI is awesome. The DJI goggles are going to do a good job on a smaller head because they don't have, well, that's not true. They do have the individual. Well, DJI goggles, how do kids do with DJI goggles? Does the IPD affect them? I'm actually not sure about that. Suryan Isaac wants to know, do you think a 7-inch quad is good for super long range? When does the frame become too big to be impractical and need a bigger battery? Suryan, there's no question that larger quads can go further when properly designed. The larger the frame, the bigger the battery, the bigger the motor, the bigger the props, the longer the range you can get. That's just a fact. So if you want to go long range, 7-inch may not be big enough. You may need to go bigger than 7-inch. Larger props are more efficient. Larger motors, lower KV can get you longer flight times. And just larger props and larger motors have more payload capacity, obviously, when designed correctly. So yeah, 7-inch is going to go further than 5-inch under most conditions. And 10-inch is going to go further than 7-inch, again, under most conditions. So 507RC says the DJI goggles do have a pretty good range. Okay. My kids use the box goggles that came with my old RTF, says Love Drummer. Yeah, that's more like it. I think something, Joseph Andrini. Yeah, I agree with you. Joseph Andrini says my son wears the Fat Shark box goggles. I think something like the Fat Shark Scout or the Eachine EV3, the Eachine EV800. Those are great kid goggles. They fit on the kids' heads really easily. They're box goggles, so there's no issue with IPD, and they're cheap. So, Doghouse and It's Blunty on the Discord are talking about TVS diodes. A TVS diode is it's a electronic device that prevents reverse current, reverse voltage spikes. I don't know. And they kind of perform half the job of a capacitor. And there's a thing you can buy from FetTech, which is basically just a little board that has a capacitor and some TVS diodes. And they're asking, well, why don't people use these already? The truth is, Doghouse, that some ESCs come with TVS diodes already on them. It's not really advertised, but they are there. But flight controllers and stuff, they just rely on you for the filtering, really. Probably just a price thing. I don't know. Maybe a size thing. I think capacitors do a fine job in most cases at protecting against current spikes, but there's no real downside to adding a TVS diode. It's the FetTech Spike Absorber is the product we're talking about here. FetTech Spike Absorber. And you can see these are just 3 TVS diodes, and you can solder a capacitor on there as well. There's no reason not to do this other than the price. So the price is $8. Now, how much does this actually cost? Less than $8, obviously. But let's say that this costs $2. I don't know. I just made that up. Let's say it costs $2 for these things. Well, that's probably conservative. It's probably more than $2 because I'm just thinking about retail margin and manufacturing. But let's say it's $2. Well, I don't know. I mean, would you, $2 is, you know, an ESC manufacturer goes, I don't know, am I going to do that? That's $2 more. That adds up. So they just would let you do it. That's why I think most manufacturers don't already do it. TVS doesn't do reverse. It does excess voltage. Yeah, but only one direction, right? Only one direction, right? Oh. Anders Martinson, yes, my F7 flight controller will have a DJI plug. No update at this time, though. I know it's coming. It's been coming for a while. Just let's just start saying no update. Tinong FPV, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Have you ever eaten an overripe watermelon? I don't know what's that's supposed to mean. I assume that's some kind of in-joke, and I'm happy that I could play into it for you. Thank you for your $5 super chat. Justin French, thank you for $5. What's the difference between black and white lines in the video? Justin French, I'll say that white lines, in my experience, usually mean external interference, like somebody's flying their Mavic too close to you, or Wi-Fi. Black lines usually are motor noise, but that is far from universal. Joseph Andrini wants to know how big my property is. I'll say, Joseph, he's flying it in Liftoff, the simulator where they simulated my property. I'll say that it feels about right. That's about how big it feels. Liftoff has it just about dead on. So. Jaguar McNish. Do you have a video describing how to change rates? I can't bring a computer to the field. I'm not sure what to change. Jaguar, I have a video about rates. Here it is. Now this is actually hush now. This is actually a little bit out of date because, but Betaflight 4.2 still has this. They've also added the actual rates, which is a little different. But that video talks about how to change the rates. If you need to do it in the field, you can do it through the OSD. And if you have, that's probably the thing most people would end up doing if you need to do it in the field. You also could get the SpeedyBee adapter and do it from an Android phone. Yeah. Let's see here. Christian Denev, thank you for £2 in the super chat. Tim Keller, thank you for $5 in the super chat. I still use a Spectrum DX8 Gen 1. Will I notice a huge quality difference if I pick up a TX16S or T18? Yeah, I mean, Tim, the DX8 is a multi-$100 radio. I don't know what the actual price is, but I mean, I'm guessing that a DX8 is $500. Let's see how close I am. Spectrum DX8. SpectrumRC.com. Where can I buy it? Let's see here. How close did I come? Oh, only $329. Oh, it's the DX8. I'm so sorry. I didn't know that 8 was smaller than 9. $300. I'm still Spectrum has really good gimbals, and Spectrum users really like their gimbals. Now, I don't know how like tied you are to the Spectrum gimbal feel. There's no question that the build quality of a $140 Radio Master or $150, $60 T18, there's no question that the build quality is lower than that of a Spectrum radio. If you want that high build quality, you're going to want to stick with Spectrum, or maybe go over to FreeSky and get like I mean, if you were to buy a FreeSky Tyrannus or a Horus X10, you could put a multi-protocol module in the Horus X10, at least today you could, until FreeSky somehow figures out how to lock that out. I don't know, but you could do that. The build quality on these radios is not really the selling point. I'm not saying the build quality is terrible, but like if you're used to really high quality gimbals and you are really tuned into them, you may not like the feel of the gimbals on the Radio Master or the Jumper. That's just the straight answer. What I like to say is that those radios offer a lot of value for the money, but it's not like they can compete with radios twice the price in terms of build quality or gimbal feel. That's what I would say about that. Mario Lorenzon, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Yeah, Boyd, thank you for $5 in the super chat. What's your favorite Star Trek series? It's got to be TNG. I grew up watching TNG, so it's got to be TNG, right? Yeah. Voyager was pretty good. I got to go with TNG though. That's my jam. Yeah. Rip FPV, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Just bought the Jumper T18 Pro. Noticed yaw is way more sensitive. Rip, what I would suggest you do is rerun the hardware calibration routine, the stick calibration. And when you rerun the stick calibration, make sure that you move the gimbals, but also make sure that you move the knobs and the 6 position switch. You got to calibrate it. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Don't forget, and the side sliders. Don't forget to calibrate all of the analogs. And when you do the calibration, don't jam the stick to the side really hard. Gently touch it. And that's how you do the calibration. I would redo the calibration. So I would suggest. Let's see here. Any problems with durability on the iFlight Sedora? Joshua Cooprider, I've had good results with the durability. I haven't been smashing it into asphalt or concrete bandos. I've been just crashing it in the dirt. It's the thing is, you will find people out there, and I know every time I post a video about a quadcopter, someone shows up in the chat. Even the Apex. Even the Apex, somebody said, Apex is overpriced garbage. I had one crash and broken arm. And I'm like, really? So no matter what, you're going to find people saying that, oh, I will say the arms on the Sedora are pretty thin. They're relatively thin and they're not tapered. So I do think that probably they're a little more likely to break than maybe others. But overall, I don't think that it's like a durability problem. I would say it's acceptable. Mason Storm wants a micro to mini adapter. That I don't know, Mason Storm. If you need micro to full size, the RunCam makes that it's easy. Probably we're going to be looking at 3D printing something. Really? No, this is a fake result. That's a fake result. Banggood, why do you do that, Banggood? Whatever you search for, Banggood just generates a fake page. Look, see, it's a fake page. And then it takes you to their website. And the product you're looking for isn't even there. That's pretty sleazy, Banggood. Don't do that. I think you're going to be looking at 3D printing. Because not many frames. So here's micro to full size. 19 to 28. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, somebody with a 3D printer can make that for you easily, though. Can you use a Foxeer adapter? Asks Anders Martinson. Mini to full size? I'm not sure about that. The DJI camera may not have the exact same dimensions. Don McAdams, thanks for a $5 super chat. Thanks for the help on my Tyro telemetry. Thanks. I hope we got it sorted out there, Don. Joshua Blaze, thank you for $10 in the super chat. Sacrifice to the VTX gods. Don't want to call anyone out before things get resolved, but I keep getting novel and janky issues. Ouch. I hope you get it resolved, my friend. Is Pyrodrone a reputable seller? Asks Eric Hoist. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you're on the West Coast, Pyrodrone, a lot of people on the West Coast are fans of Pyrodrone. I mean, like, I can't, like, I don't want to be like, yes, and they'll return any item you want. I don't want to oversell it. Like, but they are definitely reputable. Let's go that far. Joe Gray agrees. Pyrodrone is awesome. Wrong Way agrees. Pyrodrone is awesome. Yeah. Toady RZ, you've been trying to get this question answered since the very beginning of the stream. I ordered an Insta360 Go in AliExpress to the official Insta360. Now they say they can't send it to me. I should cancel the order. Is it normal to you? I don't know, man. I pay about, I don't know. Is it normal? Why can't they send it to you? Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to have the information I would need to know to answer this question. There's this deep customer service, like, there's this customer service conversation going on that I don't know anything about. I'm afraid I can't answer the question, Toady. If they told you that you need to cancel the order, then you should probably cancel the order. Because, like, what else are you going to do? No, I'm not canceling it. Keep my money. That'll show them. I'm sorry, man. It sucks. It sounds like it's, well, they can't ship it to you. You gotta just take your money back. Yeah. Let's see here. A lot of people love Pyrodrone. There you go. Fastest shipper in the West, say people. A lot of people on the East Coast like to order from Race Day Quads. Race Day Quads is located, they ship really fast, and many people wonder how. They are located right next to a major USPS hub. And Tyler Brennan doesn't talk, I mean, he wouldn't even tell me the exact details of how they managed to ship so fast, but being located right next to a major USPS, they're right near the Orlando airport. So presumably they can, maybe they like, you drop it off at the post office and then the post office takes it to the airport and the airport ships it out. Well, presumably they're skipping steps, right? I mean, I don't think that's a secret. So they ship fast. But on the West Coast, you could probably get it faster from Pyrodrone because they're also on the West Coast. Let's see here. Scott Steely, thank you for $10 in the super chat. I built JB's perfect freestyle build and it flies great, but I have an issue with the camera. It has waves in it. More throttle, more waves. It sounds like you have some vibration getting to your camera, Scott Steely. When you say waves, I don't think you're talking about electrical interference. So I think maybe there's something wrong with the way the camera is mounting that's letting vibration get to the camera. Sometimes even the internal board, the sensor can get loose. I would try remounting the camera or even try a different camera to see if the camera is the problem. Steve Kopchera, thank you for $10 in the super chat. What are your thoughts about the ORT Micro V antenna? Let's look at that. ORT Micro V. Oh, this is the linear antenna, isn't it? I think this has to be better than the tiny little whip antenna that's on most whoops. Just because those are not, they're just so crappy. But what kind of antenna is this? That's a PCB. So we have to wonder whether we're getting some of that PCB inefficiency. I would definitely give it a try. I would definitely give it a try. It's linear. That's what I would wonder, though. Whether the way this is manufactured is causing it to be less efficient than, I mean, like a monopole antenna tuned correctly can be pretty good. So I wouldn't necessarily assume this was better than a whip. But if the whip antenna on your quad is not tuned correctly, this is probably better than it. How about that for an answer? Thank you, Moving Shadow, for 10 pounds. Sweetbeard, thank you. Maurice Spellman, thanks for $2. Is the GTR 349 a good starter for FPV? Yeah, Maurice Spellman, I like the GTR 349. I think it's a little more durable than the 369. The 369 on 6S is a little more likely to pop an ESC. That's just my gut feeling. But the 349 is pretty good. It's a little heavy compared to like a toothpick. You may find that it's not as durable as you would hope, but it's a good one. Crazy Kid Jack, who's the fastest shipper in the central time zone? No major. I'm going to insult some store out there who I've never heard of. Sorry, you in central U.S. Everybody is located in Florida or on the West Coast. Are any major stores in the U.S. located elsewhere? Ohio. Ready-made RC is located in Ohio. So let's give Ohio... Is Ohio in the Central Time Zone? I don't know if it is. Let's give it to Ohio. Let's go give it to Ready-made RC, who is in Ohio, Crazy Kid Jack, as the shipper in the Central Time Zone. The problem I have is that with Ready-made RC has a lot of stuff for fixed wings and so forth. But for FPV stuff, a lot of times I find that they don't have stock. So I'm not sure if they're as focused in that direction as like Race Day Quads and Pyro. Heli Nation? Is Heli Nation located in the Central Time Zone? Heli Nation's good. Missouri. Oh, see, here it goes. Defiance RC is in Alabama. That's Central Time Zone. I've ordered from Defiance before. A-Main Hobbies. Interesting. Dronebuilds.com is in Minnesota. Alrighty, see, I knew this. I've insulted all of these stores. Oh! Meatwad Ferry. Catalyst Machine Works is in Texas. Catalyst Machine Works isn't really like a store. I mean, they just sell their stuff and some other stuff on the side. I don't think they're like just a regular, we got it all kind of a thing. Squishy7 says the GTR 349, talking to Maurice Spellman. The GTR 349 might be a little too fast for a beginner. Might need a throttle cut. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, it might have too much power. That's a good point. I mean, I think about it and I'm like, well, surely you're just going to go easy on the throttle, right? Yeah, maybe that's not an assumption I should make. Mad Fisher agrees. Maurice Spellman, if you go with a GTR 39, give it like a 60% throttle cut when you first start with it. Okay, good point. Let's see here. Star Jumper in the Discord. Star Jumper, I don't recognize your names. Thank you for being a patron, Star Jumper, and welcome if you're new. If you guys want to be on my Discord with these lovely, lovely people, the way to do it is to join my Patreon for as little as $2 a month, or more if you feel like I've earned it. That's my tagline now. I never insist that you pay. I never say I'm not answering your question unless you're a $10 patron. So suck it. I never did that when I first started. I just answered everybody's question for free, and it got me where I am today. And I figure I'm going to keep it up. So, but my theory is, look inside your heart. Is it worth more than $2? You know, it's up to you. Just join the Patreon at any level you prefer. But don't just be like, it's $2, just sure, whatever. Really think about it. What is it worth? That's all I'm saying. Anyway, you can join the Discord. Link in the video description down below. Is there, Star Jumper asks, is there any argument between Crossfire and R9? Crossfire wins. I mean, Crossfire is better. The only reason to go R9 is... Okay, all right. Let me back up. Crossfire is more expensive. R9 is cheaper. Crossfire is better. Even if you were to argue, like, which has more range? I don't know. I don't know. That's tough to answer. Especially when the maximum range is, you know, in the tens of kilometers. Which has more? I don't know. They're both fine. The thing is, though, R9 is so damn frustrating with the firmware incompatibility, and there's like 4 different, there's the EU firmware and the FCC firmware and the Flex firmware and the OTA firmware and the Access firmware and the ACCST firmware, and then if you've got an OTA receiver, it can take the Access firmware and the ACCST, but if you've got an ACCST receiver, it can't take the Access firmware, and then sometimes if you got the 2.1 version of the firmware, then it won't be compatible. And I'm just like, oh my god, stop it. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but as someone who tries to help people bind their FreeSky receivers all day, every day, I'm not exaggerating as much as you might think. Joe Gray is out there. She's like, it's not that complicated, Joshua. All you need is this firmware, and you're fine. I know. If you know the answer, if you have cracked the code of how to get FreeSky R9 to bind and work well, then it works. But I just do Crossfire. It's just, it just works. It just works. So then why would you go with R9? Price? If you have a FreeSky radio, in many cases, in some cases, FreeSky has done things to prevent Crossfire from working with the radio. And it's a hoop to jump through. Somebody just emailed me. You guys are going to love this. You know how in the Horus X10 and the FreeSky QX7, you have to do an inverter mod. You have to go in there and solder some stuff up to get Crossfire to work. Well, Philip Seidel, the amazing Philip Seidel. Hang on, let's find him. Philip Seidel inverter mod. The amazing Philip Seidel has a website where he posted how to do the... Oh my god. Accept. How to do this mod. Except FreeSky changed the layout of the Horus X10. So a guy who I've been emailing with tried to follow these instructions, except they moved all the resistors around, so these instructions don't work anymore, and this guy destroyed his Horus X10 mainboard. True story. See these instructions right here? Not correct. If you try and follow these, unless he's updated it since yesterday, I can't be 100% sure. I don't think so. Yeah. So one person reported he like desoldered all this stuff and destroyed his X10 mainboard because the FreeSky moved the resistors around. So that's the kind of stuff you got to deal with if you've got a FreeSky radio and you try and do Crossfire. So Ciati FPV in the chat says, why the hell would they do that? Well, Ciati, I'll give you 3 guesses. The first 2 don't count. Maybe there's a reason why they needed to redesign the mainboard. Maybe it's not just that they intentionally wanted to screw their customers who are trying to run Crossfire, which they have every right to do. It's a JR module bay. It's a generic module bay. At the explicit point of that mod, people are like, well, they don't want people using their competitors' products. That's normal. It's a JR module bay. It's like if you bought an Apple computer and the USB ports didn't work with Microsoft USB accessories. It's a USB port. You can plug anything into it and it works. That's the point. That radio... On the back of the radio, there's a JR module. It's a generic module bay. You can plug anything into it, and it works. That's the point. So I don't buy the argument, it's FreeSky's radio. They don't have to work with their competitors if they don't want to. Then don't, at least when FreeSky made the light module bay on their X-Lite radios, at least they were like, okay, screw it. We're just making our own form factor. But if the radio has a JR module bay in it, then you shouldn't be dicking around breaking compatibility with previous other people's third-party modules. Okay, enough of that. And now they've freaking changed the main board on that. So don't try and follow those instructions. If you have an X10, don't try and follow those instructions, because if you look carefully, you'll see that the resistor numbers have changed. The layout's not the same. This is no longer R22, it's R18 or whatever. I don't know. The guy sent me an email. I didn't get it all. But basically, he followed these instructions, soldered it up exactly as shown, and when he was done, his mainboard was destroyed and didn't work. So, way to go, FreeSky. Good job, FreeSky. You just destroyed... This guy spent $400 on your radio, and you thanked him for it by... Well, you shouldn't be soldering on the radio. That's not... Who is this Philip Seidel guy to tell you how to work on the radio? Blame Philip Seidel. Blame the user for not noticing that R18 was no longer R22. Wow, you should, if you're going to open the radio up, you should just know better. Oh. Okay. Kyle K points out that the JR module bay was PPM. Okay. That's true. I stand by my rant. That if you I stand by my rant, but you're right. It's not the exact original JR module bay. It has serial interface now. MKME Lab says, yeah, that they pulled that same crap with the FTDI adapters. You're exactly right, MKME. What happened with the FTDI? Their FTDI is made by, who makes FTDI adapter? What's the company? Is it Silicon Electronics? I'm not sure. But the original FTDI adapters were used to flash. It would brick your device. What was that? It? And then Chinese manufacturers started making off-brand FTDI adapters, and then the actual manufacturer like changed the drivers. So if you used an off-brand FTDI adapter, something bad would happen to your computer or whatever. I don't remember the details. Yeah, that same shit. So anyway, this is a new X10. Maybe I don't know if he had the new X. I don't know exactly. I mean, I have it in the email, but I'm not going to go dig up the email. So they bricked the chips with the driver. Yeah, your third-party FTDI adapter would be bricked if you used an actual FTDI driver. That's mean. That's just mean. QX7 mod still works fine. Freelojo. Yeah, this was an X10 Freelojo, or maybe it was an X10S. I don't remember. I'd have to check the email. My point is that he said to me, how do I do the inverter mod? And I said, follow these instructions. And he came back and he said, it's not working. And then he came back and he said, wait, I looked at my board. My board doesn't look like this one. It's different. I was like, oh, there you go. Anyway, if yours is working, good for you. Psych Limbo, thank you for a $10 super chat. Raven187, thank you for $2 Australian. Trappy should make more modules, always out of stock. I'm sure he's making them as fast as he freaking can, right? Let's not encourage TBS to go faster and lower quality. I'd rather have them go slow and get the quality right, which is, of course, what they do. Travis Simon, thank you for $10 Australian. DJI Newbie Drone Infinity Stack. I only get the first 3 tones and no green light on the DJI. What should I do to diagnose? Well, if you only get the first 3 tones, that's telling us the flight controller is not getting power. If the DJI Air unit doesn't power up, that flight controller has a regulator on board. So I think that you're not getting power to the flight controller. So what I would do is I would unplug the battery, test continuity from the positive battery pin on the XT60 through to a VBAT pad on the flight controller, see if continuity is there. That will confirm whether all your wires are getting from point A to point B. That's what I would do, Travis Simon. Trying to get Crossfire Shot working on a Spectrum IX12. Oof. I don't know if Crossfire Shot has been made to work. No, hang on. Max Life, Crossfire Shot specifically solves a problem that only exists in OpenTX. If you have a Spectrum IX12, you don't need Crossfire Shot. You don't have the problem that Crossfire Shot is fixing. That's like saying, that guy over there has a really cool set of crutches. Wish I had a set of crutches. How do I get a set of crutches like that? Your leg isn't broken. You don't need crutches. Crossfire Shot fixes a problem that only OpenTX radios have, so don't freak out about it. Max Life, solved your problem. Jeff Johnson, thanks for a $20 super chat. That's a big super chat. I sure do appreciate it. Look, if you... Martin in the chat says, I bought a R9 receiver, but now I feel guilty. Don't look. If you... the last thing that I ever want to do is to have someone say, I'm not asked... Oh, I can't... You can't ask Bardwell questions about Free Sky. He hates Free Sky. No, hang on. I am mad at Free Sky for screwing you over. If you own a Free Sky radio or if you own R9, I will still help you try and get through this. I might complain a tiny bit while I'm doing it. But you're not the bad guy here. If you own Free Sky stuff, if you love Free Sky radio, or if you use R9 because you can't afford Crossfire, or you just like R9, no, I have no beef with you. I have no beef with you. I only have beef with the company that is doing anti-consumer things that makes everybody's life harder, including mine, but also yours. So just to be clear about that. Starjumper says, I thought I saw something about one of the Zing motors being discontinued on your stream. Do I need to be concerned? I have to verify this, so I don't know if this is true, so I'm not going to repeat it. Someone told me in email that the Zing camo motors have been discontinued. And I was like, oh, is that true? I don't know if that's true. Look at the iFlight Zing. That's a Get FPV, though. It's still available on Get FPV. Is it available on iFlight's page? Yeah, so here it is on iFlight's page. It says in stock. So I don't know what they were looking at. I don't think this motor's been discontinued. Somebody told me it had been discontinued. I just wanted to follow up on that, but I don't think it's true. I can't wait for it to turn out to be true. And this is a rumor also. I can't wait for this rumor to turn out to be true, that the TBS Tango is going to support a multi-protocol module. Because that's going to be a killer freaking radio the minute it gets 2.4 gigahertz support. And I also have heard rumors that TBS is going to be, it might be making a non-game controller style of radio. Which I probably won't switch to the Tango 2 as my daily driver because, well, number one, it doesn't have as many switches as I tend to like. But also, I could get by on that. But also, the game controller ones, I like the other ones. So if they were to do that, that would be pretty badass. Anders Martinson wants to know the best DJI 3-inch. I would have to say the Transtech Beetle 3-inch. It's just ridiculously good. However, it's also often out of stock, and you may not be able to find it anywhere. But that's the one I would have to say. Anders Martinson says, it's not even a rumor. Trappy literally said if you have half a brain cell, you know what the new main board is for. Okay, I don't like to risk getting myself in trouble with TBS and TBS fans by spreading false information about their products. The last thing I would ever do would be to spread false information about TBS. That has, the accusation of doing that has caused friction before, and I am in the mood to reduce friction. That's what I would say. Mario Lorenzon says, I have Crossfire on my QX7. Should I upgrade to the T18? Yeah, I mean, if you're happy with your QX7, don't switch. I mean, the T18 has a bigger screen. Do you like that? Anders Martinson, the Transtech Beetle also comes in 3-inch. There's also a 3-inch version. I don't know if you can buy it ready to fly, though. It definitely has a 3-inch frame, though. Let's see. Let's see here. Wow. Doghouse FPV says, once upon a time, I remember the video. That was the Heliospring guys, I believe, Doghouse. They claimed that D-Shot usage was creating voltage spikes of 1 volt on the signal wires and recommended JB turn off D-Shot. Was that ever confirmed? I can't confirm 1 volt peak to peak. I've never put it on an oscilloscope. However, I will say in that video, I turned D-Shot off and went to multi-shot, and I had been having noisy video, and with multi-shot, the video noise went away. That doesn't mean I'm going back to multi-shot, but it does suggest that D-Shot creates more noise than multi-shot, probably because of its higher frequency. Hubbub FPV, thanks for $5 in the super chat. I put in a new JBF4 board. My RunCam Swift 2 only shows gray screen. OSD works, no video. I mean, did you use the Cam C or the Cam S pad? That's the first thing I would suggest. The JBF4 has Cam C for camera control and Cam S for camera signal, and you might have accidentally soldered the wrong one. That's the first thing I would check, Hubbub. I'll be glad to help you further if you want to email me or message me privately. Mario Lorenzen, thank you for $2 in the super chat. I have Crossfire on my... Oh, no, we already got that. Sorry. We're caught up. Fantastic. Frisbee wants to know, is remote ID still a threat to the hobby? Yes, just as much as ever, Frisbee. They are moving ahead. They propose to have the rules written by the beginning of 2021, and then they would go into effect 2 or 3 years after that. Letter writing and lobbying is, you know, people are trying to get the ear of people who might make a difference, but to be honest with you, at this point, I feel like legal action is the only option. Tyler Brennan from Race Day Quads has said that he will take legal action to try to stop this. I'm happy that people are still trying to get a hold of Congress people and so forth, but it feels like this is moving full steam ahead, and I'm skeptical that we will get the traction that we need to stop this, except with a lawsuit. That's my personal opinion. Colin Dempsey wants to know, if you do the analog mod on the DJI goggles, would an earbud still work with the goggles? Colin, that I don't think that the way that the analog mod usually is done connects up the audio output of the module. In theory, you could connect the audio output of the module to the pin on the AV plug, such that you could get audio out. It just depends on how you're doing the mod. As far as this guy goes, this is the British Drone Industries Digi adapter. I just put this on these goggles today. And, I mean, it has a plug. You could theoretically, I mean, could you theoretically just plug in there with your earpiece? I don't know. I think you'd have to look at the wiring. It seems like it could be done, but depending on exactly how you do the mod, it's not clear whether it would work. Let's see here. Wow. Meatwad Fairy, you bought Little Stellar Fox's kit? What did she sell? Goggles, remote, and 3 air units. Her personal gear. Did Little Stellar Fox leave FPV? Oh, says it's Blunty says he thinks she's working with Orca. Oh, so instead of oh, did she ditch her? Wow. You know, that's something. If she ditched her DJI stuff after becoming an Orca associate, then what does that say about what Orca's doing? Interesting. I don't know if any of that's true. That's just chatter going on over on the Discord. Mad Ginger wants to know if the Attitude V5 stock module supports audio. I don't think so. Does the Attitude V5 have an earbud? I know it doesn't have an HDMI. I could be wrong about that. Let's check. Let's check. Does it have an earbud connector? Where's the bottom? Is that a screw hole? That's a screw hole. Is that an earbud? That looks like an earbud connector. Well, that would suggest that it does do audio. So we're going to say, I think it does do audio. Jayhawk Beer Maker. I saw her post on Facebook that she had her gear stolen multiple times and might be leaving FPV, but I didn't know that she actually did it. Pappy says that the BDI analog adapter has audio-video solder pads on the inside of it. I missed that when I installed it. So you could solder up any kind of audio or video output that you wanted. That's pretty cool. Colin Dempsey, if you do the analog mod, the iFlight analog mod that I did a tutorial on, that one, I think it only does video, but you could easily look up the pinout of the Fat Shark module and solder up audio as well. It seems like that would be easy to do. But then you would just have audio on the AV plug. That's not the same as an earphone jack, right? So I don't know about that. How do you get the ear? What's the correct pinout to get an earphone? You'd probably need some kind of adapter to adapt the AV plug to an earphone. So. Timbo FPV wants to know, how can race day quads file a lawsuit against the FAA? They're going about making the law lawfully. How can legal action be taken against them? I mean, Timbo, you can challenge any law in court, right? That's a thing. You would argue that it was in violation of some other existing law, or you would argue that it was unconstitutional. There are various ways to challenge a law in court. But if you want to, you can sue the federal government to try to get a law declared invalid. You could totally do that. Tripod, thank you for your question about what to munch on while enjoying a bourbon. I personally drink bourbon on the rocks. I find neat bourbon to be just a little too the sort of alcohol fumes are just a little too much for me. I like that the ice cools it and waters it down a little, and I find it way more drinkable that way. So I don't drink bourbon neat, but on the rocks. But hey, Stevo43068, how did I study for my part 107? To tell you the truth, I did use a course and a book, but this video right frickin' here, Tony and Chelsea Northrup, this video is 85%, maybe more, of what you need. Just put this video on repeat and watch it again and again and again. I would buy a book, a study guide, because the study guides have sectional charts in them, and there's no substitute for being able to look at a sectional chart and interpret it. I don't think that because this guy basically is just giving you the cheat sheet to the whole test. And so for some questions, all you need to do is just remember the answer and get it from the cheat sheet. But for sectionals, maps, you have to know how to look at the map and then go, okay, you can't just memorize the answer. So I would get a study book, like just a little, $20 study book that has sectional maps in it, because the exam, they use the same maps. You can buy the official FAA study guide. It'll have the same maps in it that you will see on the test, so you can get familiar with the maps. And I would definitely do that. You might be able to download those. You might even be able to download them for free off the internet because it's the federal government. But then just watch that video again and again and again, and then you will just pass the test. Guarantee. 100%. My favorite bourbon. Ask Saucy FPV. So to tell you the truth, mostly what I drink is Knob Creek. That's usually what I get. Knob Creek is not too expensive and pretty good even for drinking straight. I don't usually mix bourbon. Occasionally I'll put bourbon in like an Arnold Palmer. I think that's a good combination. But I usually don't like bourbon in cocktails. Once upon a time, I was going to impress somebody with an expensive gift. And I went to the liquor store and I found, you know what I'll get him? I want to get him something from Tennessee, my home state of Tennessee. So I got him a Tennessee Volunteers football jersey. I'm not even into football, but okay. Actually, I think it wasn't a jersey. It was like a hoodie. Like, okay, I wear a Tennessee hoodie. And I got him like $100 bottle of Tennessee bourbon. And then it turns out that you can't ship alcohol internationally. This was a person in another country that I was going to buy a gift for. Turns out you can't just mail alcohol to another country because, the law. So I had to keep the bourbon and I drank it. I was like, oh, this is good. So I felt bad because it wasn't a real big bottle for $100, but it was so good. And now I kind of have a taste for it. So that's like the best, but I can't afford to spend that much on bourbon most of the time. Anyway, there you go. Boots to Monkey confirming you can download the sectional charts off the internet. Yeah. Let's see here. Share that link to that FAA video. I will, but I mean, come on, guys. Like, just Google it. Just Google it. Like, you saw what I did, right? I just typed Part 107 preparation into YouTube, and it was the first result. I'm gonna share the link, but you guys take a little initiative, okay? Take a little initiative. Yeah. All right. Quad Whisperer wants to know, can I use a Crossfire Nano TX pass-through to Race Day Quad Micro GPS? I don't know the answer to that, Quad Whisperer. I don't know is the correct answer. I wouldn't assume that a third-party GPS would work. I would assume that the TBS GPS would work. But it might work. I don't know the answer, but I wanted to acknowledge your question. How much did it cost in total to get your 107? Matthew Archibald, I spent, like I said, about $20 on some study prep book before I found out this video existed. Like, it might have been this very one right here. That's the 2019. That would have been the one. Here it is. So I bought this. The reason I bought this, you can download from the you can download this, a PDF of this exact book. But I wanted to be able to kind of just like read it without my computer distracting me. So I bought this, but you don't have to buy this. You can download this PDF from the FAA. It's free. And then I also got the 2019 version of this book. Honestly, I didn't actually think this was that good. I didn't really like this one very much. I thought that the way the information was organized and the way the sample questions worked, I wasn't a big fan of it. So personally, I think between this, which you can download for free, and that video that I showed you a minute ago, I think you could probably pass the test. Most people should be able to pass the test. Let's see here. Speedy Turtle FPV, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Do I need to replace my flight controller? I had the gyro problem. Chris Masters on Facebook. Well, Chris, for a $5 super chat, I'll go dig around in my messages. Chris Masters on Facebook. Who are you, Chris Masters? Chris Masters. Chris Masters is having a problem with a twitching motor. Oh, I see. Yeah, he emailed me this. I'm not going to go dig in my email to show it to you guys. But yeah, Chris, replace the flight controller. When you've got a gyro problem, it's hard to know what's causing it, because if you have a mechanical problem with the quad, like a cracked main plate, that can cause gyro problems. And at that point, you need to fix the frame. So what you got to do in a situation like yours is go over the whole quad looking for damage. And then if you don't find it, the last option is replace the flight controller. Don't throw the old flight controller out, because maybe that's not the problem either. And then you just have a spare flight controller. But yeah, I would, if you can't find mechanical problems, replace the flight controller is the next place to go. BVTV, thank you for a $2 super chat. Do I need a special earplug for my HDO2 to hear? Yeah, you need a mono earbud. You can buy like the Mr. Steel earbud. He makes one, an Ethics Mr. Steel earbud. If you just plug in a normal stereo headphone, I don't think it works. Is that true? Did they change that on the HDO2? I don't think so. I think the HDO2 is the same. It might be the Orca that has the standard headphone output. One goggle out there has a standard headphone output, but the HDO2 has a mono earbud output, and a standard stereo headphone won't work. Aber the Ham, thank you for $2 in the super chat. What's the best question ever? What's the best thing I could do to make your day better? Wouldn't you like to hear that question? Would that be the best question that anybody could ask of you? That's what I'm saying. Why do you need a 107? Asks Anders Martinson. Your YouTube channel wouldn't need it. What do you mean? My YouTube channel absolutely needs a 107. Not only is every one of my videos monetized, but it's also my whole job. Like, my whole job. If anyone, like, some people out there could say, yeah, I uploaded it to my YouTube, but it's not commercial. There's nothing I upload to my YouTube channel that could be argued to be non-commercial, right? I think that's a stretch. Yeah, I absolutely need a 107. If anyone needs a 107, I need a 107. Okay. Doghouse FPV asks, what 5 to 7 inch freestyle frames have the largest collection of available 3D printed accessories and mods? The Armatan frames have to be up there. They're super popular and there's tons of 3D printed accessories for them. I would have said the Alien a year and a half, 2 years ago. Not anymore though, I think. Other than like the Armatan that really stands out, I'm not sure what others are like super popular. Yeah. Yeah, Umpman Joe, anytime you upload a monetized YouTube video, you should have had a 107. That's what the FAA will say. If the video is not monetized, perhaps it is non-commercial. But if you look at me, every video I post to my YouTube channel, whether it's monetized or not, I think that the FAA would argue that it was commercial in nature. And I fly basically all my flights under 107 rules, regardless. I've made it very difficult for myself to ever argue that a flight of mine is recreational. Having said that, I reserve the right to make that argument if I ever have to. FAA inspectors. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that the FAA probably, if they wanted to, could try to argue that anything I post to my channel is commercial. Just because that's my whole job. Yeah. Has any type of authority ever checked up on you? Nope, not yet. Fingers crossed. 160 miles an hour. 160. Not yet. If you've ever won a purse in a race, you're supposed to have a 107 for that. Racing for money, racing for prizes, 107 in the US. Do all the Rotor Riot pilots have a 107? Anders Martinson asks. Like, I don't, it's not like I check up on them. If you're flying on the Rotor, I guess technically Rotor Riot pilots don't have a salary. It's debatable. Here's the thing. You got to ask yourself what you're going to feel okay with if and when you get that call from an FAA examiner. He says, hey, we've been watching your content. We'd like to follow up with you about these flights. How are you going to feel, right? If you're a Rotor Riot pilot, let's say you're a Rotor Riot pilot, but you're appearing for free and you're not getting paid, which actually is true for me. I actually had a salary for some time and I stepped away and said, look, no, I don't want to, for reasons which go back to history. I said, I'm just going to do it for free. This was back when Rotor Riot was at risk of going out of business, was having some problems. And I was like, you know what? Just don't pay me. Some of it was that Drew kept asking me to do things and I kept not wanting to do them. Nothing like bad, but he'd be like, hey, you know, can you work on this video? And I was like, I'm working on a video for my channel. And he was like, we didn't have this conversation. This was all in my head. In my head, he was like, yeah, but I pay you a salary. You work for me. And I was like, shut up. I do not. I don't know. Once you're self-employed, you kind of don't want to have anybody else be your boss ever again. I don't know. So I was like, no, don't pay me. So technically I work for Rotor Riot for free. So does that mean that when I go on a Rotor Riot episode, I don't need a 107? I mean, Rotor Riot's making money off the flight. I'm the pilot. It's just like, you know what, forget it. Just get a 107. So. But then, like, let's say, just Joe, like in Monday's video, Baldman FPV showed up. And Drew's just like, hey, man, you want to come out and make a video with us? Does he need a 107? I don't know. That's a good question. Rotor Riot used his footage. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If Drew is a 107, I know that for a fact. If you don't have a 107, but there is a 107 pilot in command there with you, they can be the official pilot in command while you are the person operating the controls. So that's probably if like when Jamie first joined Rotor Riot, I don't know if she had a 107, but that's okay, because as long as like everybody else has a 107, as long as someone is standing there ready to take the controller out of your hands, then the FAA is happy, as long as they have a 107. So anyway, you can know more about 107s than you maybe wanted to. Can a VTX fry on 6S without a capacitor? KJD Kyle, sorry I missed your message, my friend. $2 super chat from KJD Kyle. Can a VTX fry on 6S without a capacitor? I don't think it's super likely. Mostly it's the ESC that fries, but I guess I wouldn't rule it out. Anytime you're running 6S, you need a capacitor. That's what I say. T1, yeah, no, I'm gonna skip that. Now, Upman Joe, that I disagree with. So Upman Joe says, if you film a house and then give that footage to someone for free and they use it to sell their house, you need a 107. Here's the truth, and this is, I've checked this with aviation lawyers, so I'm not just talking out my ass here. This is legit. If it's the intent at the time of the flight that determines whether it's commercial. So let's say that I am, well, maybe not me, because we just talked about how it's difficult for me to make non-commercial flights. Let's say that an average person is flying at a park. This person has never made money from a drone. They're completely recreational and they don't have a 107. And while they're flying, something newsworthy happens, like aliens land. And their drone footage has the perfect view of the alien mothership landing. And now they sell that footage to TMZ. Do they need a 107? Ooh, oh, let's leave it. They sell that footage to TMZ for $20 million. Do they need a 107? I'm going to leave that for a second and see what the chat says. Love Drummer says no. You don't need a 107. Sam D12 says no. Yes, says Crazy Sam. Yes, says O-Town Dan. Yes, says Eric Allen. There's a lot of yeses out there. The answer is no. The answer is no. And here's why the answer is no. At the time of the flight, the intent of the flight was recreational. During the flight, something money-making happened, and after the flight was finished, the footage was sold for money. Completely fine. It is only if at the time you make the flight, the intent is commercial. So, if you are just flying your drone outside your house one day for fun, and a realtor comes by and says, hey man, can I have that footage? That looked really good. I'll give you $10. That's fine. As long as it is true that you didn't intend to commercialize the flight at the time that you made it. Now, don't try to take that too far, because like if I go before the FAA and say, I didn't mean, I wasn't intending to post that to my YouTube channel. That was a recreational flight. Oh yeah, what about this flight? Nah, I wasn't going to post that one either. That one was also recreational. What about this flight? Nah. None of the flights that you were asking about were all recreational. Yeah, what are the chances? Nobody's going to buy that. But the truth is that just because you make money from footage doesn't mean that you need a 107, as long as at the time the footage was made, the intent. And the thing is, the more you sell your footage, the less anybody's going to believe when you say, now that one was recreational. So. Yeah, exactly. MBFPV, if you saw the UFO land and you texted to your mom, oh my God, I'm going to sell this to TMZ. I'm going to make so much money. And then you took off and filmed the UFO. Now you need a 107. But if you were already in the air having a recreational flight and you incidentally picked up the aliens landing, you don't need a 107. So how would they know your intent? Well, that's the thing, my friend. The lawyers come and they say, I think this was a commercial flight. And then a judge decides whether he agrees or she agrees. So that's the thing. If it's not like really freaking clear cut, you're going to need to defend it in court. And nobody wants that. That's expensive and it's time consuming and it's stressful. So just get your freaking 107 and just be done with it. Which is what I did. Crazy Kid Jack, if you're in the air and you see the UFO and then you think, I'm going to sell this footage. I think the flight categorization occurs at takeoff, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Haschenberg says, so like, what if you fly the drone because it's fun and then you post the fun flights to YouTube and monetize? The thing is, Haschenberg, I feel like if you decide to monetize the flight, you're starting to put yourself in a very risky area. And the more you do it, the less believable it's going to be that the flight was recreational. If you post 1,000 videos to YouTube and every one of them you monetize, every day you post a new video and you monetize it. And then on day 1001, you post a video and you try to say to the FAA, oh no, I didn't intend to monetize that one. Nobody's going to believe you. Nobody's going to believe you. Anyway. Casey Wrightsman, thank you for $5 in the super chat. Is the iFlight Titan XL5 good for getting smooth video? I mean, Casey, I haven't flown it, but iFlight tends to make good stuff, so I probably would bet on it if you're leaning that direction. Spud Nick says the rules around 107 seem silly. Is there any other hobby where you need a special thing to monetize your content? Like Spudnik, it's the flight that is being regulated, not the video. So, for example, I'm going to make a new series of videos about driving a truck. I'm going to drive a semi-truck on the road. Well, you can't do that without a commercial driver's license. I don't know how, I mean, I assume in Europe and other parts of the world it's the same. You can't just go drive a semi-truck on the road, towing a 20,000-pound trailer or whatever. I don't know how heavy trailers are. You can't just do that. You need a commercial driver's license. So, if I decide to make a video about driving a semi-truck on the road, making the video is legal, but driving the truck isn't. I need a commercial driver's license for that. And it's kind of like that with the FAA. The difference is that in flight, in general aviation, the FAA makes a distinction between commercial traffic and non-commercial traffic. The idea is that if you want to go up in the air and kill yourself because you don't know how to fly a plane, okay, well, I mean, like, we're not okay with it, but we're kind of okay with it. But if you are going to let other people pay you to fly them, we're going to hold you to a higher standard. And that's where this comes from. The difference is that drones don't carry people, and when drones crash, people generally don't die. So I agree it's kind of dumb, but they're taking it from general aviation and extrapolating it to drones, and that's how it happens. So, all right. Well, it's 9:55 p.m. Thank you for that lovely conversation about Part 107. I really enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed it too. It's 9:55 and it's 5 minutes to the end of the live stream. Aaron Ciotti is here in the chat. Dominic Clifton's here. Dominic Clifton, your ears must have been burning. We were talking about your flight controllers earlier in the stream. Back towards the beginning of the stream. Dominic, is it true that you have a pick-and-place machine and a wave soldering machine, like, in your house? Is it true that you make your flight controllers, like, yourself? I've heard that rumor. Since you're here in the chat, I'll just ask. Yeah. Aaron Ciotti is going to be streaming. If you are having fun and you want to stay up even later in the day or the night, he's going to start posting the link to his stream, and you can go over to his channel and watch him do a stream. He says yes, he does. Dominic Clifton does make people talk about. I want hardware that's made somewhere other than China. Now, not everybody. Some people say that. Well, Dominic Clifton, I believe he lives in Spain. I'm sure he lives in Europe. He has a pick and place and a wave soldering machine right there in his house, and he makes his own flight controllers with components that he bought from China. Okay, you can't get away from China completely. Thank you, Dion Potagiter, for 140 ZAR for other F7 flight controllers all the way. I think he's in Spain. España, yes. I thought he was. I'm 2 for 2 now. Oh, UAV Tech is here too. UAV Tech put out a great video recently about tuning a Betaflight quad. I've really enjoyed watching this video of his. 2-pack tune, he called it. I hate you because I was going to make a similar video, but I think yours might be better. Well, I'm still going to make a video, but UAV Tech put this video out. It was a really good freaking video. Ciotti is going to be streaming in about 5 minutes. He's doing 4 giveaways and Q&A, fixing the FPV Cycle Glide. Oh, I should talk to you because I have some FPV Cycle frames that I've been thinking about using in a build. If there's things I need to do differently, I got to talk to Ciotti about that. My favorite thing about that video from UAV Tech was he's like, so we're going to turn the P gain down and we're going to look for bounce back, or turn the P gain up and we're going to look for bounce back. And he goes up, zip, 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 no bounce back. And then he's like, oh, we're going to turn it up a little high, no bounce back. He kept cranking the P gain and turning the D gain down, and he could not get any bounce back. And finally he's like, all right, I know I said I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to look in black box. Oh, Ezekiel, you're killing me, dude. I'm 2 minutes from the end of the stream. I can't. You got to email me. Ezekiel, please email me. Please email me about this. I can't dig up this PDF 2 minutes before the end of the stream and answer your question. I so appreciate your super chats. You're like $15 into the super chat now. I would love to help you, but I can't do that right this second. Email me, please. Yeah, UAV Tech, your quad was all. What that video proves, UAV Tech, is that the mechanical build of a quad has way more to do with PID tuning than a lot of people like to believe. People start with crappy parts. They do a crappy job at the build, and then their quad flies like crap, and they're like, "What should I do with the PIDs?" And it's like, okay, we're gonna make a silk purse out of this sow's ear, but it'd be better just to not start with a sow's ear. You start with a really well built quad, lightweight, powerful motors, good props, tight, no really good build, and it's just gonna fly great, kind of no matter what the PIDs are. It'll fly better with the right PIDs, but the first thing to do when getting a good flying quad is to build a well-built quad. Doesn't mean you have to spend a ton of money, but sometimes you spend a little more money and you do get a good job. So many times people try to ask me to solve mechanical problems with PID tuning, and I try to help them, but the actual answer is build a different quad, build a better quad. It's 9:59 p.m. and we are going to be wrapping up. What's coming up on my channel this week on my editorial calendar? What's coming up? I don't even know. Oh, tomorrow, Cadix Nebula review. Cadix told me that my footage didn't look good, and they thought maybe my camera was broken, and they were going to send me another one. So they did. Did it get better? Toolkit RCM 6D charger, going to be doing a review of that. I will be PID tuning a quad on 6S, and 3 packs a day experiment is starting to wrap up. Coming to an end. So that's what's coming up on the channel this week. I hope you show up for it. I will be there. And for now, I'm going to get off the air because it's 10 p.m. And Aaron Ciotti is going to be going up there. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'll let you guys head on over to Aaron Ciati's. Post that link one more time, Aaron. We'll let you head on over there and watch him do his thing over there. Happy flying, everybody.